Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. We're coming to you live from the McAllen Incubator, Creative Incubator, that is, on KCYP, the city, 97.7 FM. And we're also coming to you on Facebook Live. And we're going to be hitting out the airwaves on YouTube and also Radio Garden. Great app. Check it out. Worldwide radio for anybody who wants to listen to any kind of music anywhere in the world. So, here we are again, another Thursday. Our week was pretty filled, I would say, with news. We'll get at that in a minute. First of all, as usual, I'd like to say blessings to all the listeners, everyone who's watching, anyone who wants to, participate. You'll be coming in here on the comments. Hopefully I'll be seeing, I got a thumbs up there. Hopefully we'll be seeing some names and throw up some questions if you have them. Last night I was doing the show prep, and I checked out some prices, and I got something new for us today, okay? So, hey, Sue's on there today. Hello. So, we've got a gold price of around $1,950. So, $1,950 an ounce, last night's price for gold. Silver, $24.06. So, it's holding pretty much where it was. And the Bitcoin, it's on a tear, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But Bitcoin last night was $23,195 for one Bitcoin. Hey, Rudy, good to see you, brother. We're here talking Bitcoin. So, here's a question that we all have, if we're into Bitcoin, that is. Is it going to stay? Have we seen the bottom? It went down briefly, very briefly, for probably a matter of minutes, maybe an hour or so, dipped down into the $15,000 range. So, that was our bottom so far of this, this time period. And then we're wondering, this 23,000 business, far cry from the, the 16s that we were looking at for pretty much a month. So, has it bounced back? Is it going to go somewhere? Well, we'll get into that in a minute. Here's another number I want to give you, and this is a roundabout thing because we like to do things here that not just take care of, how would you say, cryptocurrency concerns, financial concerns, but, we all have to live somewhere. So, a lot of us, hey, Mike, good to see you. Good to see you're on here with us. We're all concerned about, where we're going to live. And some of us are fortunate enough to be looking to buy a house. So, let me give you a new portion of the show that I've been thinking about. And this one is, in addition, of course, to gold, silver, and Bitcoin, let's get the average mortgage rate. So, what are the bankers going to charge us for a mortgage? So, the average 30-year rate that I looked up last night, so it's about 24 hours down, is 6.46%. Some of you might be saying, yikes, 6.46%. Yeah, it is quite a bit more than what we're used to, especially if, like some of us, were in there at 3s or lower, if you're lucky enough, right? So the 15-year is 5.66. So it's roughly a point, 0.8, right, difference between the 15-year and the 30-year. There's always that difference, right? But it doesn't seem that much anymore, does it? It just doesn't seem attractive right now. And as I've told you before, there are some really impressive content creators out there. And when it comes to real estate, my personal favorite is, well, he's got two channels. The Real Estate Ninja, and his bigger channel, I would wager, is the Economic Ninja. So the Economic Ninja, I listen to that all the time. He's telling us about, prices going up, prices going down. But not just that. These are things we can take advantage of. Richie, good to see you. Good to see you're in here. Throw me some questions, guys, if you want to. So when it comes to things like trends, price trends, inventory in, let's say, vehicles, or let's just say at your local Lowe's or Home Depot, he covers it. He's on this stuff. He's been doing it since, he's like in his 40s. He's been doing it since his 20s. So he's a millionaire, by his own admission. So he's doing something right. I'm not a millionaire. So, go figure, right? So here's the deal with these mortgage rates. It might be tough for most of us, but the good news is this. If you want to believe guys like the economic ninja, real estate ninja, then it's going to come down. Bad news is we're going to have to wait a while. So we'll have to see on that. I'll keep you updated, but I'll tell you what, when it comes to real estate, when it comes to trends financially that the average guy can take advantage of, the economic ninja, you know, it'll do you right, okay, to tune in. The one for crypto, there's not one obviously, but one of the biggest, and I'll be talking to you about some of the stuff that he was sharing with us. He's got a Patreon channel also, is Bitcoin Ben. You've heard me speak about him before. Great content creator. You'll be listening to what in my mind is a very very good ideas man. He's a visionary in my estimation. Be your own judge, right? So November 9 saw Bitcoin dip below 16, and then up until 2 weeks ago. It was a sideways channel for a couple of months, and now it's popped. I mean, we're at 23 something, so it's popping. But here's some questions that we have, okay? First one, a guy like me, yes, I'm the conspiracy theorist that you all know and love. Well, some know and love. But I want to know, is this manipulated? Got a question. What Sue got in store for us here? Oh, yeah, she would like to jump on the Ninja bandwagon. She also is checking out the Ninja, and I believe she's in his real estate course, which I haven't taken it, but I can recommend it just knowing who he is. He's giving 80% off until, I guess, all of the episodes are filmed or either in the can, so to speak, or being edited. So he has a big discount on it now. So I don't know exactly the prices. Look it up, Economic Ninja. Check that out. So we've got another person to vouch for that content. So 2 questions. Is the rally being manipulated? And the other one, are other coins following along? Okay, these are 2 questions that are interrelated, and let me explain. So when we ask, is it being manipulated, we ask this because, well, gold and silver, great assets for, you know, thousands of years, are being manipulated. It's clear, it's easy to see when you look at the futures markets and the spot price of the metal itself. So, hey Edward, good to see you. So the spot price of the metal, like we just said, for gold is $19.50, silver $24.06. That's what you should be able to buy it for. However, you can't buy it for that. Not only are you going to pay the usual, which is wherever you get it, the distributor, you're going to pay that fee, which is obvious. They're not doing it for free, right? However, you're also going to pay a huge premium because it's really not that cheap. What do you mean it's not that cheap, Otter? It's not that cheap because while the spot price is that price, the reality in the market is that it's rare and becoming rarer. Both metals, but more so silver, because it's an industrial metal that gets used and wasted pretty much. Maybe not wasted, there is a use, but it gets tossed, right? Nobody's going to sift through cell phones to scrape a little, bit of circuit board off to get some. It's not cost effective to get some silver. Not. So it actually gets disposed of, which means they got to go dig some more up, right? Making sense? I hope so. So silver, for me, okay, is a better buy right now. And average guy prices, of course, silver is going to be better than gold. That being said, just keep an eye on it because, again, I believe it's being manipulated. Now, what does it mean? Bitcoin, that is. What does it mean in a similar way as it is with silver? Because there are ETFs, electronic traded funds, where they're basically using the futures markets to manipulate Bitcoin. So the other question, are the other coins following along? And there's the surprise. They're not really, hey Brian, good to see you. They're not really following along, and that's what gives me pause. Because when it was on the actual bull run back in 2021, when a lot of us got in and as it was going up, and that's usually what beginners do, and I was definitely a beginner, it looked like every tick up and then every tick down that Bitcoin made was a tick up and down for alternative coins, altcoins they call them. So you could see almost to the bump up, the bump down, it was, following Bitcoin. All these alternative coins were following Bitcoin. We don't see that so much here, and now we don't see that. So it gives me a little bit of pause and perhaps doubt as to whether or not we've seen the bottom. Regardless, to me, these are great prices. So this is coming out of Bitcoin Magazine. Arizona lawmakers push bill to make Bitcoin legal tender. So I've spoken about other countries, El Salvador being one of them, Dubai is another, that are using Bitcoin as legal tender. They're seeing ahead of the game, and they're acting on it for a couple reasons. One, they're smaller than the United States. It's sort of like we use the analogy of a ship. You can turn a little John boat a lot faster than you can, turn a Princess cruise ship, right? So there's that analogy. The other reason is that we have institutionalized bankers that are choking out the average guy, and there's no way they want to give us an escape route so that we can flee the coming demise of the Federal Reserve note. They want us where they want us, which is desperate and dependent on them. But my job as the Otter is to show you escape routes from that desperation. You don't have to listen, and I'm certainly not a professional. Please, this is not financial advice by any means, right? You want good advice on how to barbecue or cook some real good buffalo wings, okay? Texas buffalo wings, I call them Buffetex wings. You want that? I'll go pro on that. Financial matters, not so much. I'm not going there. Okay. That being said, so this State Senator Wendy Rogers of Arizona, she's introduced a set of bills aimed at making Bitcoin legal tender in Arizona and allowing state agencies to accept Bitcoin. That means they can pay their confiscatory taxes in Bitcoin. Yeah. So if they were to be fortunate enough to have gotten into Bitcoin when it was low, well, then they pay their taxes in dollars at a very good rate. So they can avoid, hopefully, the situation where a lot of people find themselves when their taxes are actually more than their mortgage, more than the principal on their mortgage. They're paying more in taxes and insurance than they are on their mortgage. Not to even consider interest, especially at the beginning of your loan. Serge, good to see you, Serge. So these are the types of things that we have to think about when we're looking at a serious situation in our financial our financial economy, or climate, if you will. I said climate, and climate change is not real, not man-made. You know what they call climate change? Weather. It changes. We'll probably 10 minutes from now we'll be doing something different, but it wasn't us or cow farts that changed it. I promise. Okay, here's something we can get into here, and this was authored by Rita. Oh, you know what? I'm going into the headlines a little too soon. I want to share a little bit about what Bitcoin Ben shared today. And he has a Patreon show, and I'm in on that. I think it's $5 a month if you want to get, sort of like an insider's perspective. Anyway, here's what he shared. He shared that he had been in contact with 3 different individuals that were heavy buyers of Bitcoin. And if you remember me talking about Bitcoin Ben, he's an idea man. He's a fairly well-known, a really well-known content creator when it comes to cryptos. So people go to him with their ideas and their products. So they love to see him with their product, right? So along with that comes contacts. So he is in contact with people that buy a lot of Bitcoin. So he says that he spoke with 3 people over the last, I don't know how many hours, a couple days. And these people are heavy hitters, meaning they usually buy somewhere around $500,000 a quarter worth of Bitcoin. Okay? Denny, Joe, good to see you guys. So $500,000 worth of Bitcoin is going to buy you a lot of Bitcoin. Okay? So what they're doing is they're buying it quarterly, right? And now they're beginning to step it up. Why are they beginning to step it up? Remember, maybe not, the halvening. Joe, do you remember me talking about the halvening?
Right.
Okay, the halvening means that everyone that mines Bitcoin, the reward that they get for mining Bitcoin, if you strike lucky and you close out one of those blocks on the transaction blockchain, if your machine is the last one, you get Bitcoin awarded to you. Currently, that is 6.25 Bitcoin go into your wallet. Awesome, right? Great. Here's the thing. Because Bitcoin was programmed to be a deflationary device, we have what's called the halvening every 4 years. So what cuts in half? What is cut in half? The reward. So it goes from 6.25, okay, to 3.125. Halves. It goes from half to half to half, right? Now, if you look in the history of Bitcoin, you're going to see that along with these 4-year halvenings, you're going to see the trends. Okay? So it's going to go up, it's going to go down, and then after the halvening sets, it's going to go up. Okay? And then all low points are going to be higher, and high points also higher. So you're going to see it, boom, go up. There's one aspect of why they're buying heavily, and I have left this out, but Bitcoin Ben says that those 3 individuals that he talked to are planning on increasing their buying quarterly by about 50%, okay, which is a ton of money. All that to say, you might want to think about buying now before the halvening. Why? Because after the halvening, you could still buy $10 of Bitcoin, but you're going to get a lot less Bitcoin. You can still buy $100, $500 worth of Bitcoin, but you're going to get less Bitcoin for those dollars. That said, let's go on to another thing that's going to affect. Once the halvening occurs, and we've been on for a while now, thank God, thank the good Lord, he's saw that we have KCYP the city, right? We have 97.7 FM KCYP that we can broadcast on. We're broadcasting on Facebook Live. We're broadcasting on YouTube. That's great. But maybe you haven't seen all of the episodes where I've explained a lot of this stuff. But as a deflationary asset, what Bitcoin is doing is they already did it. They programmed it so that the halvening will also slow the process of Bitcoin being minted. So at the halvening in 2024, what's going to happen is 95% of Bitcoin ever to be minted will have been already put in there, out there in circulation. Right now we're at 92 some percent. So what does that mean? It means that there's only 5% left. And that 5% is over 100 years in the coming. Okay? That's the program, the deflationary nature of Bitcoin. And it's beautiful, especially in comparison to the Federal Reserve note. Adan, good to see you, my friend. So, all that to say, if you want to get into Bitcoin, now might be a good time. But don't do it with money you can't afford to lose. I don't think you'll lose, but here's what happens. If you put money in there that you might need, and you come out in 6 months or 8 months, maybe you're going to lose some of your money. If you're willing to wait a few years, I don't think you're going to lose. That's me. Again, I'm not a pro, and I'm not a financial advisor. Okay? That being said, I don't mind. You know, if I got a little bit of money, and I don't have a lot, but if I got a little bit, I'll park it in Bitcoin, and hopefully it's going to grow, and I'll be able to do things with it, like hopefully pay taxes, right? So when the dollar value goes up, you're going to be able to pay in Bitcoin, and it won't hurt. Anyway, let's go on to some other headlines. So we got here, authored by Rita Lee via the Epoch Times. Great news outlet. You pay for it, but I'll tell you what, it's worth it. The Epoch Times. So Rita says, an election integrity group said 10.9 million out of a total of 22.1 million ballots that had been mailed out to registered voters during the 2022 midterm elections went unaccounted for. Is that a surprise to anybody who watches this show? I doubt it. I doubt it very much. So the story goes on to say, mail voting practices have an insurmountable information gap. Yeah, go tell me about that, right? So there's a public interest legal fund out there, and they're talking about how they went to wrong mailboxes, they were withheld from proper recipients, and all that good stuff, right? So we all know about that. I'm just showcasing that this stuff is not dying, thank God. It's being kept in the spotlight, so to speak. Hopefully, somewhere, somehow, the evidence is just going to get overwhelming. A critical mass will form, and we'll see some change. We can hope and pray. Seattle Medical Examiner running out of space to store bodies due to fentanyl overdoses. Not good. Not good. You know, I rifle off that headline, and it is sad. There are people out there dying in the streets of every city, but it happens a lot in Seattle. Why? That's just the way they run it. It's the way they run Seattle. They like it that way. Not the people that die, of course, but the people that are collectivists. Yeah, I'll say it, communists. They like it that way. They don't really want a lot of us, so if they can do things that make us go away, they're going to do it. My opinion, again, I'm not a pro. It's just what I'm saying. If you want to argue with me, we could call. Joe, what's the number for the studio?
956-789.
956-789.
0702.
0702. Give me a call. I'll let you know whether I think you're right or wrong, or if we agree, perhaps. Who knows? So, the remarks came during a King County Board of Health meeting on January 19. A dashboard provided by King County shows that 2022 saw the highest number of fentanyl poisonings. 686. 686 people died of this fentanyl crap. As compared with 2021, where only 385 fentanyl overdoses were confirmed. So, I mean, what are we gonna blame it on homelessness? Yeah, we can. Thank God I've not been there. It's got to be a pretty desperate situation. Edsel, good to see you. Come on. Good to see you, brother. So, and Mingo, how you doing, Mingo? Good to see you. And all you out there in YouTube land, good to see you too. I can't see my monitor yet. We're gonna have that fixed up one of these days. One of these days. If anybody wants to volunteer to be a techie, if you know how to use a keyboard, you've already surpassed my knowledge. So if you want to volunteer and come in on Thursdays, have a good time. Me and Joe are here, and we can find a place for you. I need to be able to see these comments and speak to them, right? So we'll see. Hello to you too, Edson. Now, is it joblessness that makes this desperation to take these drugs that you know have a fair chance of killing you, right? I've heard that sometimes when people are smoking weed that it can be laced with fentanyl and they're gone. They're gone. I don't know. But I also, I know you can drink a couple beers, and so far they haven't been throwing fentanyl in that, thank God. But man, there are high risk lifestyles out there that I think are being driven by our economic situation here, which is being driven by, you got it, evil Western central bankers. I went there. I said it. Even though I got debanked, the Bitcoin Otter got debanked, in case you guys didn't know. James, good to see you. So, yeah, the situations we're feeling right now, unfortunately, I don't think are as bad as what they're going to get. That being said, I'm not here for any type of fear stuff, because as you know, it's all about preparation. That's why I'm doing this, okay? God has gifted me with many things, and I've used a few of them, okay? I'm not running at capacity, as anybody who knows me knows. That being said, the biggest reason why I started the whole Bitcoin Otter Association is that I want to help people prepare. There are people out there showing you, how to snare a rabbit, shoot a gun more accurate, start a fire with a couple sticks. I can't show you any of that. But what I can show you is what I've learned, which is prepping for you and your family, so that if there's an economic downturn, you've got an exit point. you've got a place where you and your family can go and hopefully find some relief from, the devaluation of this thing that we call the dollar. Wayne's on. How you doing, Wayne? Good to see you. So, what we have now are people dying of fentanyl. We have them in the streets, more so in some places than others. And you would think that Seattle would be, well, I guess it's temporary, right? But still, it's got to be miserable out there for them. Okay, here's something else. We'll pivot quick. And I was working today with a bunch of friends, and they kind of looked at me. They were laughing at me as usual, right? But it was something that I've been harping on for a long time, and it's only half of a joke. That whatever our government takes in is going to end up in Ukraine. It's almost a given, right, Joe? Yep. I mean, think about it. So now they're talking about tanks. They want to give tanks to Ukraine, right? Who knows if they'll know how to use them or not? I don't know. If you put me in a tank, I'd probably blow myself up. I don't know. But the fact is that we're prepared to give them tanks. Now, my personal opinion is that you're going to see those tanks probably a week or two later in Iran, Afghanistan, or wherever else they sell them to, right? Who knows? There's some people in Florida that like those things, I got peeps in Florida, and you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, the German foreign minister said, this is from Zero Hedge, by the way, German foreign minister said the quiet part out loud on Ukraine. This is what the German foreign minister said. This woman said this. Not that it would be any better from a man, but I just felt like saying that. Because you don't have to be a male to be a warmonger. So, the German foreign minister, Annalena Baerbock. You like that? Yeah, it's not good, I know. Bluntly stated in fresh remarks that Western allies are fighting a war against Russia. What's the big deal, Otter? What do you mean fighting? We all know that. Well, they weren't supposed to say it out loud, right? The Minsk agreement, if you guys follow all this kind of stuff, the Minsk agreement is just being completely blown out of the water by the Western allies, the usual suspects, right? The NATO people, that all they want to do is pump money into Ukraine so that they can continue the criminal playground there, right? With the Azov Nazis, right? You've got Nazis. You've got biowarfare labs that, by the way, the Pentagon admitted to having 43 of, so we got to at least figure there's 86, double their word, because it's not worth much. So, child trafficking, human trafficking, probably organ, whatever they're doing over there, it's not pretty, it's not nice. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of money from around the world is going into that place, and it's not staying there, because it's coming back. Okay, and not in your pocket, and not in my pocket. It's coming back to politicians, Democrats, Republicans, doesn't matter. The Uniparty is profiting off of this war, and they're ratcheting it up, right? Mm-hmm. So, what do we got? We got a situation where we might have some, nuclear scare at some point, because these people just won't stop. They won't stop pushing. Anyway, this woman, she said it out loud, and she wasn't supposed to do it. I guess they don't care anymore. Russia is obviously being pushed past the limits of what we would take, right? Let's say Russia did on the Canadian or the Mexican border to us with biolabs and, communists Nazis and all this kind of stuff on our border. Think about it. What if they're baking up some more monkeypox right on the southern border here, right next to us? Do you think we're going to take that? Of course not. So some of my peeps, Sue, is saying that she could use a tank in Florida. See, couldn't we all? But yeah, Florida. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have ever checked out Florida Man on the internet. It's pretty funny. Florida Man does a lot of things, like driving his lawnmower drunk to the gas and sip and getting busted for DUI. Lots of things like that. Wrestling gators with no equipment. Florida Man. Yeah, you ought to check him out. He's on the internet. Isn't everything else? So, along these lines, we say tanks, and more tanks. Again, anything any government gives to Ukraine can probably be found. And you know what this reminds me of, Joe? I haven't thought about this in a while. But remember when ISIS was big? ISIS was huge, and they were hitting people, and our soldiers, they were hitting people, civilians, defenseless people, and just killing them, right? So they have this, I think it was CNN, shows this montage of the destruction. And then they get this snapshot of a guy in like a Toyota pickup with his arm out the back. There's like a mortar strapped to the bed of the pickup, and a bunch of guys with their AKs, right, showing how great they are because they can kill innocent people. And on the side of this truck, on the door just below the guy's arm, was Frank's Plumbing, Odessa, Texas.
I remember that.
It was like, holy crap, they're not even hiding it anymore. I mean, you can imagine these 3-letter agencies going to the auction, right? Hey, we gotta keep ISIS running, right? So they go to an auction in Texas somewhere, right? And I don't know there was Odessa, so maybe not put Odessa in the search terms, but you'll find it, right? So it's like, how more obvious can it be who's financing this stuff, right? And then everybody hates Vlad Putin, okay? I'm not saying he's a nice guy. I'm not going to drink a beer with him, right? But who ended up whacking ISIS? It was Putin. He killed ISIS. He dropped some missiles or whatever on their whole caravan, and their organization was, in chaos for a while. Why? Because ISIS was USIS. Okay? Just like Ukraine is the usual suspects' playground, right? We got to wake up to this stuff, people. That's where all this stuff is. Our money is going there and then coming back into the coffers of the DNC and RNC. Okay? The patriots that want to break into the political field and do their thing is, hey, Tate, good to see you. They're being held back by the establishment, the gatekeepers, right? Anyway, I digress. So, here's another thing that's going on. And I don't know if anybody's heard about this. If you've been watching the news, you may or may not have heard of this $1 trillion coin idea. Joe, have you heard about it? I don't know. Have you read or no? Okay, so here's the idea. And I get where they're coming from, right? This trillion dollar. Josh, Paul, good to see you guys. This $1 trillion coin idea is I guess it's even they're crossing the aisle with this thing, Joe. It's Democrats and Republicans, right, wanting to figure out a way to bring down our deficit, which is at like $31.4 trillion. How do you even count that anymore, right? Like 14 times, the sun and back, and whatever. It's just crazy. Anyway, they want to make this coin a $1 trillion coin to help pay the deficit down. We got a question here. Okay, so DeSantis, that'd be Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, is considering banning hostile nations like China. I mean, they're obviously hostile, right? From buying Florida real estate. This is out of Business Insider. I think this is necessary. I think this is absolutely necessary. Thanks, Sue, for throwing that up there. So, and I'm going to get right back to that $1 trillion thing. But China owns, let's give our home and great state of Texas the first example. There's a place near Del Rio, Texas that has a very sizable ranch. Well, the owner of that ranch is I want to say he's a general, could be a colonel in the Chinese army, the communist, yes, CCCP army, right? He owns this big ranch. On this ranch is a flight line, an airstrip that can hold any aircraft. Don't believe me, everybody, look it up yourself. Any aircraft can come in on their ranch, and it's Chinese held. Chinese own ports in Florida, and that's why hopefully DeSantis is going to do something about that. They own ports in Florida. What's coming in on those ports? How do we know? Jessica, good to see you, Jesse. How do we know what's coming in on these Chinese-owned ports? We don't. That's the bottom line. Okay.
They're not regulated by the...
I'm sure they have to be regulated in some way. But once they're owned, well, yeah. It's a small matter of getting around it. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I haven't been there. But, this is just me thinking about it. You try to buy a port in China. Oh, well, how do you think that's going to go? No. Oliver, good to see you, Oliver. So, back to the $1 trillion thing. So they want to make this coin. It's going to be a platinum coin. I can't remember the weight of it. But it's going to be a platinum coin of 1 trillion, valued at $1 trillion, okay? And there's many of us that say, oh, wow, that would be such a great thing. We can maybe bring this down. But I want to show you the problems. The first problem is that people think it'll work. That's a problem. The second problem is that the Federal Reserve took a flying you-know-what all over it, as expected. Let me enlighten you a little bit on this if you haven't been following this. So this is from Markets Insider. Janet Yellen shoots down the idea of a Fed-backed 1 trillion Treasury platinum coin to keep the U.S. from a debt default. Okay, this is a loaded headline, ladies and gents. A loaded headline, okay? Like I said, I'm not a pro, but I've been following this stuff for a while. So let me translate this. Janet Yellen shoots down. Well, of course she's going to shoot it down. That's her job. Why? The idea of a Fed-backed $1 trillion Treasury platinum, they've just contradicted themselves. Let me explain. If it's Fed-backed, the Federal Reserve is a private membership only, and you're not one of them. Joe, you're not a member. It's private, not federal. Tim, good to see you, Tim. So the Federal Reserve is a private entity. So when this headline says Janet Yellen shoots down the idea of a Fed-backed 1 trillion, this enterprise, this idea of a $1 trillion platinum coin to pay down debt is definitely not Fed-backed, nor is it Fed-inspired. Because debt is what they want. That's their bread and butter. That's what they live on. Debt. You, me, everyone in debt. So, 1 trillion Treasury platinum coin. It's supposed to be a Treasury coin. The Constitution says that all minted U.S. currency should be coming from the U.S. Treasury. That's its job. But in 1913, we installed the third iteration of the criminal Fed Reserve. They call it federal, so we feel warm and fuzzy about it because we think it's part of our government. It's not. It's privately owned. And it is the third installation of a central bank in the United States of America. Now, it's all over the Western world, and I'm sure China has their central bank, and I bet if we had the opportunity and I could talk some Chinese, we'd find out that their central banks are just as evil and despicable as our own fuzzy little Federal Reserve. Yeah. Javi, good to see you, Jav. So, let me get into this a little bit here. Under the Mint the Coin plan, they got a hashtag already. So if you want to check it out on Twitter. Mint the Coin plan. Hashtag Mint the Coin. The White House would tell the U.S. Mint to issue a $1 trillion $1 trillion. A 1 trillion platinum coin, which would then be deposited at the Federal Reserve. Wow. Wow, that's like, you know what that's like? I'll tell you what that's like, Joe. That's like, in the time of high-priced eggs, you go buy yourself a hen, okay? And then you put it right next to the litter box of the cat. That's what giving a $1 trillion coin to the Federal Reserve is like. It ain't going to be there long, and it ain't going to be what you think it's going to be for very long. Because I've seen cats tear up birds. It just ain't pretty. Anyway, so the Biden administration could then withdraw money to pay the government's bills. They could draw money to... Who thinks the Biden administration is going to pay bills with the money it draws? They're going to send it to Ukraine. Haven't we gone over this? Everything goes to Ukraine. I digress. Didn't she used to work for the Fed? Yellen, yeah. It's like everything else. Sue asked a good question. Didn't she, Yellen, work for the Fed? Of course she did. They just recycle everybody, just like the FDA does. Okay? They're 1 month, they're a CEO for a pharma company. The next month, they're on the board of the Food and Drug Administration. I digress once again. It truly is not by any means to be taken as a given that the Fed would do it. And I think especially with something that's a gimmick, Treasury Secretary Yellen said in a Wall Street Journal interview published Sunday. A gimmick, she says. The Fed is not required to accept it. There's no requirement on the part of the Fed. It's up to them what to do, said Yellen, a former chair of the U.S. Central Bank. Yeah, of course they're not beholden to it, because they're not beholden to anything. The Federal Reserve is not beholden to you or me, because they make their own rules up. They decide when their currency is going to go or when their currency is going to get inflated. They decide. Okay? Here's an example of how you and I know this to be a fact. You or I have any aberration whatsoever on our tax papers, we're going to get audited. We know that. How many times has the Federal Reserve been audited, Joe? Can you guess how many times?
0.
0. Ding, ding, ding. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Joe gets it. Exactly. Javi, The Creature from Jekyll Island. If you have not read that, if you're really interested in learning about the Federal Reserve, The Creature from Jekyll Island is arguably the best book to read on it. So basically, the usual suspects, these robber barons types, these central bankers, came together on a place called Jekyll Island to plan the Federal Reserve. Oh, and did it go off swimmingly? For them, anyway. So, Jekyll Island, The Creature from Jekyll Island. G. Edward Griffin, I believe, is the author. Yes, Javi knows it. The Federal Reserve can't be audited. Why? Because none of our politicians have the intestinal fortitude to get it done. Yeah, and those that do, right now, for now, are being outshouted and outvoted by the ones that are pretty much bought, paid for. Here's a good idea. This is what I heard, and this is not me. It's a great idea. I didn't come up with it. But if we were to make politicians like NASCAR drivers, it would be so much easier. Let's say they could keep their suits, but they'd have to put, like stickers or patches of all their sponsors, whoever owns them. So they'd have Moderna, Pfizer, right? They'd have all these, IBM, they'd Apple, all the people that own them, and nasty stuff. Anyway, they would have to be shown who owns them. That would be a cool thing to see, in the halls of Congress or the Senate, Okay, here's something else that's going on, and we're almost ready. We're coming up on the last 10 minutes or so. I really appreciate you all checking up, throwing comments out there, asking questions. Thank you very much. YouTube, thank you for watching. 97.7. Did I yell that a little bit too loud? Did that come out a little too loud? I don't mean to get, I grew up in New York, so, you gotta, I guess, deal with the bad. So, 97.7, KCYP, the city, FM. Okay, we're in the process right now of doing a little bit of computer tune-ups. So hopefully we'll be able to broadcast on the website, the city website. So, Guillermo, good to see you. Willie, love to see you. Eddie, good to see you, Eddie. So, this is something that I may or may not be planning a plane trip anytime soon, but I want to mention this to you that you may or may not have seen. And this also, I think, is from Zero Hedge. FAA won't divulge data behind pilot heart arrhythmia decision. I don't know if anybody's heard of this, but there was, and I can't remember the data. Well, maybe I have it here. No, I didn't put it in there. But there is a range, as you can imagine, an acceptable range that the pilots have to. I don't know if it's yearly, quarterly, whatever. They have to take a physical to make sure that they're healthy enough to fly you and me around the country and around the world, because it would really be a bad thing if they weren't and nobody could fly, and if you had to have me to fly it, wow, nightmare. Anyway, the FAA recently changed the range. So there was a range, call it a tight or stringent range of heart, I don't know if it's electromagnetic. I'm not a doctor, not a pro, so I don't know. But there's a range, just say that. And within that range, the heart rate or the healthy, or the gauge of how healthy the heart is was able to be, pretty much seen by doctors, not by me, of course, in this range. Now, what they've done is they have widened, for some reason, that range. So, as more and more people, and this is not a lie, as more and more people are being affected by climate and eggs with heart disease, yes, I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. If you know where to look, you'll see these headlines. Climate change and eggs supposedly are the new causes of these fairly, unfortunately, more and more common heart issues in athletes and so forth. So they're blaming it on climate change and they're blaming it on eggs. Yes, those increasingly expensive items that we love to have in our fridge and our bellies are supposedly, they've been here thousands of years, Joe. Never a problem before, Joe. Now they're causing heart problems. Chihuahua. So, anyway, these are the things that they're pushing for us. Yes, Hav, it is pretty funny. I agree. So, the Federal Aviation Administration recently widened the acceptable range for heart rhythms for commercial pilots based on new scientific evidence, which they won't disclose. I would read it to you, but they won't disclose it. This evidence, this important and new scientific evidence, Joe, they won't disclose it. Supposedly our tax money is going to pay their salaries and they won't disclose it. According to Just the News, which reached out to the agency for comment. Okay, well, go where you will with that. If you'd like to research that, FAA, and then it's got the heart rhythm range. You can check it out. Willie, you're absolutely right. Willie makes the comment and he says, sadly, there are people out there that will believe it. I can't agree more. And those are the people that they count on again and again to push down, to tamp down the critical mass of people that are waking up. Okay, you've got just as many people that tune in to the 6 o'clock and 10 o'clock news every single night, or 5 o'clock, whatever, I don't even know. Whenever the news comes on, these people are glued to the TV, and the problem is they believe it all. I agree with you. So, and we're coming up to the end here. I got a couple, the last one, you guys are going to love this last one. You're going to love it. Joe, you're going to love it. I didn't even tell Joe about this yet. Okay, so the Gateway Pundit says, your tax dollars at work? Ukrainian officials blew 100 billion in U.S. uniparty dollars on sports cars, mansions, luxury vacations, etc. Holy tamale, Joe! Why couldn't they send it to KCYP? We want a vacation. Could you imagine a super yacht with KCYP on the side?
Wow.
Man, that'd be awesome. Maybe we just go to Ukraine and it'll all start coming in. So it says here, and this is, I won't read the whole thing, it's just a short little thing here. Ukraine is embroiled in another corruption scandal after several top officials were caught purchasing sports cars, mansions, and luxury vacations as the rest of the country suffered in the war with Russia. Remember that when you see those people on Twitter with that little flag, they don't have the American flag. They don't like Americans so much, apparently. They got that Ukraine flag. They love Ukraine, right? I bet their money's not going, and if it does, their money's really gone. Anyway, I don't want to get started on that. I got one last thing. First, we'll recap because that's what Joe, the pro, right? He's the pro. I'm not. That's what he taught me. You recap. So, we're going through these pages, strewn about here. Told you about gold. I bestowed, blessings upon everyone. I'd like to do that again. Got a friend, Arnold, in the hospital. I don't know if he came on yet or not, or if he's going to or not, but I'll tell you what, I'm praying for you, Arnold. Got some issues, and Lord willing, you'll be out quick. So, talked about gold, talked about Arizona lawmakers, Bitcoin legal tender, election watchdog, a lot of those, millions of ballots just never made it anywhere. Seattle medical examiner with, fentanyl, not good. The German foreign minister said, yeah, we, using the proverbial we, are at war with Russia, as if we're actually going there. She said the quiet part out loud. So, Janet Yellen thing, she doesn't like a $1 trillion because that would pay back debt. When, the Bible says, the debtor is slave to the lender. That's just a fact. We're slaves to these people, and that's the way they like it. So, that is a short recap. And here's the coup de grace. Right now, and I can't remember which one it is, but there's one of our members of the legislature. Corruption is everywhere, says Sue. You better believe that. One of the members of our legislature has proposed an act by which the people that serve or are supposed to be serving us in the halls of Congress, the Senate, the legislature, as it were. I would imagine other posts too. The act states that they would have to disclose all of their stock buys, their stock sales, and their families would have to do the same. They would go through periodic basic background checks, and they would be audited to some degree or another on their trading habits. Yeah. Thanks, Willie. Yeah. Widespread corruption. So there's this guy. I can't remember who it is, but he's attempting to pass, you know it's not going to pass, but he's attempting to pass an act. He's proposing an act, okay? And you're going to love this. He's proposing an act that says that these politicians that have been ripping us off for years are going to have to be audited. They're going to have to be checked on. They're going to have to disclose, they and their families, okay, how much they're buying, when they're buying, what they're buying, all that stuff. Because they're insiders. They know what's going to go up and what's going to go down. These people go in less than $1 million of value. Boom. 20, 40, 60 million dollars, $200. I think these people are crazy, and I almost gave it away, the name of the act. You know what the name of the act is? And this is beautiful. You're going to love this. What do you think the name of this proposed act is, Joe? It's beautiful. The Pelosi Act. Oh, yes! Yes! The Pelosi Act. Yes! The inside trader herself. Yeah. Her and her husband Paul that got hammered. They're supposed to let that body cam video out, Joe. Well, if they do, we'll touch on that next week. So the body cam footage where reportedly, well, maybe not reportedly, perhaps a rumor that he wanted to keep this dude in his house, and then the dude ended up literally hammering him, right? And then the cops got called. Who knows what they're both in their underwear. I don't want to get into it, Joe. You and I are fully clothed, thank God. Okay? We would hate for these people to have some sort of, their screen would break or something. Anyway, the Pelosi Act, it's called, right? So hopefully somewhere, somehow, that's going to get passed. We'll just keep tabs on it. There's still, a long way to go. But at least somebody's trying. At least someone is trying, okay? Thank you all. I really appreciate all of you. Term limits. Willie says term limits. You're absolutely right. I couldn't agree more. Term limits. That would be a great thing, and hopefully that's going to be on the slate one of these days. So, I very much appreciate everybody tuning in on 97.7 KCYP, the city, McAllen, Texas, here out of the McAllen Creative Incubator. Also, we're out on Radio Garden. We're out on YouTube, and we're out on our Facebook favorite friends place. Thank you for hanging out with us. We'll have some more stuff next week. Give me a shout out, okay? Give me a call on my business phone, and I'll tell you what that is. And if you don't want to call, you don't want to talk to me, and I understand. I can understand that. Give me an email. Here's the Bitcoin Otter phone. 737-256-9339. 737-256-9339. You want to buy some Bitcoin? I can help you do it. No problem. Anyway, bitcoinotter.media@gmail.com. bitcoinotter.media@gmail.com. Send me questions, send me comments, send me things you want me to touch on the show. You want to be interviewed on the show? Hey, we got an extra mic here. We can set up another one. You got something going on, you really want to get it out? Let me know. We'll work it out. Love to have somebody else here on here with me. If you agree with me or not, it doesn't matter. We can still talk about it. We're all about transparency, right? Thank you, Willie. I'm glad you enjoyed the show. I hope everyone else did. We're going to turn a little bit, and I just want to let everybody know why the Bitcoin Otter Private Membership Association, whom all of you can join and then become a private member of the association, if you would like, is because I believe God has given me the mission to be a watchman on the wall. I am on our city wall looking out, and there are some things I don't like. So instead of shouting it out so that everybody's scared, I want to prepare everyone. That's my mission. If you want to listen to me, great. I can elaborate. We can both discuss it. If you don't, that's fine too. It's just that thing I got that I think God wants me to talk to people about. one of the things, first of all, His Son, Jesus Christ, that's first and foremost of anyone's list. We got to make right with Him so that we're right when we leave this place. So, all that to say, God bless you. Have a great day and a great week until we meet again. Adios.